And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I've discovered a very unsettling truth, which is that my soul doesn't seem to care what price I have to pay to follow my calls. I hate this. It seems like it ought to care. But my security, my prestige, my happiness, my vanity don't seem to matter to it. Staying on the elephant does seem to matter. What I mean by that is the willingness to endure the jostling and the sometimes more than occasional indignity that accompanies the pursuit of a calling. You know, it's like Oscar Wilde once said, the gods have two ways of dealing harshly with us. The first is to deny us our dreams. The second is to grant them. I have a friend who's been searching for about 15 years for a sense of direction, sense of mission, more to the point. And I was asking him about this at one point some years back, and he said to me that the reason he's been waiting so long is he's been waiting for what he called an unshakable vision, which seems like, on the face of it, like a noble idea, right? Shouldn't one have an unshakable vision? The thing is that at the time he told me that, I was reading this article about a chemist named Ilya Prigogine. And this guy was awarded a Nobel Prize in the mid-1980s for a theory that, among other things, said it is exactly, as he put it, the capacity to be shaken up that ironically is the key to growth. The quality of fragility, the capacity to be shaken up. He said any system under the sun, at the molecular level, at the chemical level, physical, social, psychological, spiritual, any system that's protected from disturbance is protected from change and becomes stagnant. Isn't that interesting? Any system that's protected from disturbance becomes stagnant. And by extension, anything that is true to life is not going to be unshakable. It's going to shake. It is going to shake. In fact, one of the scariest things anybody in my life has ever said to me came from somebody who understood this brute existential fact. He said, Gregg, if you are not failing regularly, you are living so far below your potential that you're failing anyway. But I'll tell you something, it explains a lot. This fact explains a lot to me about why everybody that I interviewed for the Callings book said to me that saying no to a calling was just phase one of responding to it. It was inevitable, it was universal. One guy summed it up by saying, you shall know the truth and it shall make you nap. So, despite all of this, when people finally said yes to their callings, despite all the resistance, right? All the keeping the gods drumming their fingers, you know, when they finally gave themselves over, they said, to the life of their soul, of their spirit, they described to me that that life reciprocated in many, many ways, and in many ways that they couldn't anticipate. It isn't necessarily that do what you love and the money will follow. You know, Marcia Sinatar, who wrote that book, never said exactly when or how much. You know? But it's like Sruly Blotnick said, their devotion to the calling set up something like a spiritual gravitational field in their lives, like a magnetic field, and it drew things to them, just inexplicably. It drew resources and contacts and opportunities and interest and insights and those wonderful instructional dreams and meaningful coincidences that are like little winks and nods from the universe that tell you you're on the right path. Keep going. Right? They said, and maybe it's no more mysterious than that life supports growth. Seems to be what it does best. And once you begin to receive these gifts, people said to me, you're not so willing anymore to settle for less. And you also find that you feel a tremendous sense of relief. Rightness, as in setting your soul to rights. And I think of it this way. A calling seems to have the same effect as setting a weight down on one side of a scale, or the same effect as somebody leaving a message on your answering machine or asking you a blunt question. It creates an imbalance in the nature of things, and the equilibrium is not restored until you set an equal weight on the opposite side, which is a response. And the response is a coming back to the center of gravity, and it's an almost physical sense of relief. And you are not the only one who will benefit from it. There's a reason that some of the great myths of the world, like the Grail King and Sleeping Beauty, speak to this idea that when you, the king, sleeps, you, the queen, sleep, those around you also sleep, and the kingdom goes dormant. And when you, the king or the queen, awaken, those around you also awaken, and the kingdom flowers. So I would like to leave you with an interesting little quote I ran across from a Brazilian archbishop named Helder Camara. And it's an interesting little thought about keeping yourself moving into your callings, moving into life and into passion. Beautiful little quote. He said, "When your ship, long moored in harbor, gives you the illusion of being a house, put out to sea, save your boat's journeying soul and your own pilgrim soul, cost what it may.